That unmistakable roar of the V-twin, that star on the tank that has survived wars, economic crises, and cultural shifts for over a century. Harley-Davidson is not just a motorcycle brand, it is a piece of American history on two wheels. From the trenches of World War II to the silver screens of Hollywood, through endless highways and dirt tracks, these machines have defined generations. Today we are going to explore the 15 most important models of all time. The one that opens the list is already an icon, but the one that closes it is simply unbeatable. Let's begin. Position 15, Harley-Davidson Cervicar, 1932-1973. Before modern three-wheeled bikes existed, before dealerships sold Can-Am and Harley trikes as standard, the Cervicar existed. And it wasn't a whim, it was a necessity. Produced for 41 years from 1932 to 1973, the Cervicar was the workhorse of 20th century America. It wasn't designed for weekend riders, but for mechanical shops, car dealerships, delivery companies, and above all for the police. Its function was to tow. Yes, you heard that right. The Cervicar was basically a crane on 2.5 wheels. It featured a huge rear trunk and a hitch that allowed for towing broken down cars, a brilliant solution in an era where motorized cranes were scarce and expensive. Its engine was a 45 cubic inch V-twin, the same one that equipped the Harleys of the era, reliable and simple. But the most curious part was its rear end. It had two wheels close together, yes, but it wasn't a typical tricycle. The transmission was differential and the rear wheels were so close together they barely left a double track. This made it stable, maneuverable, and above all, practical for daily work. For decades, the Cervicar was the work tool for thousands of small businesses. And when the police adopted it, it became an icon of security forces, appearing in countless films and photographs of the era. The Cervicar is not a bike for racing or for showing off at a bar. It is a bike for working, for sweating, for earning a living. And in that category, few machines have been so important. Its production lasted more than 4 decades, a record that few Harleys can match. And although today it is forgotten by the general public, its legacy lives on in every trike you see on the road. The Cervicar was the first to demonstrate that Harley didn't just build dreams, they also built tools, and for that reason, it deserves a spot on this list. Position 14, Harley-Davidson Street 750. When Harley-Davidson realized that their customers were starting to go gray and that young people were looking elsewhere, they decided that something had to change. The response was the Street 750, a bike specifically designed to conquer urban asphalt and a generation that had grown up with speed games and Japanese bikes. Its Revolution X engine of 750 cubic centimeters was a liquid-cooled V-twin, a heresy for purists but a necessity for surviving in big city traffic. Electronic injection and a smooth-acting clutch made it accessible even for those who had never ridden a motorcycle. The low and compact chassis made it easy to reach the ground, giving confidence to new riders. Critics accused it of not being a real Harley, of sounding different, of behaving differently. And they were right, it was different. But that difference attracted thousands of young people who today, years later, have moved up in displacement within the brand. The Street 750 was not the best seller nor the most powerful, but it fulfilled its mission, opening the doorway to the Harley world for those who would have never considered crossing it before. Position 13, Harley-Davidson Sportster Iron 883. If the Street 750 was the doorway, the Iron 883 was the battering ram that broke down prejudices. It arrived in 2009 as part of the Dark Custom family, and its philosophy was as simple as it was lethal. Total darkness. No chrome, no glitter. Everything in black from the engine to the handlebars, including the wheel spokes. The Iron 883 was the statement of intent from a new generation of riders who wanted a bike that made them look tough without having to spend a fortune on customization. Its Evolution engine of 883 cubic centimeters with air cooling was the same one that had been proving its reliability for decades, but now dressed in mourning. The peanut-shaped tank, the solo seat, and the low handlebars created an aggressive posture, the kind that invites you to seek out curves instead of fleeing from them. The Iron 883 became the perfect base for customization, accessory catalogs filled with parts to make it even darker, even lower, even more personal, and it did so without needing to be the fastest because its charm wasn't in the numbers, but in the attitude. Position 12, Harley-Davidson V-Rod Verska, 2002. In 2002, Harley-Davidson did something no one expected. It partnered with Porsche to design a completely new engine. The result was the V-Rod VRSK, a bike that split the brand's history in two. Its Revolution engine, a 1,131 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin with double overhead cams and 4 valves per cylinder, produced 115 horsepower. An absolute beast for a Harley. Porsche engineers spent more than 3,000 hours perfecting the liquid cooling system, ensuring the engine could run at high RPMs without fading. In speed tests at Bonneville, the stock V-Rod reached 228 kilometers per hour, making it clear it was no ordinary cruiser. The hydroform chassis was 50% stiffer than traditional ones, allowing for sporty handling that no other Harley had offered until then. The swing arm, made of polished aluminum, looked like it was taken from a racing bike. Purists hated it. They said it didn't sound like a Harley, that it didn't vibrate enough, that it was too fast. And they were right. The V-Rod was not a typical Harley, it was an experiment, a laboratory on wheels. But over time, it has become a collector's item, proof that Milwaukee could, when it wanted to, play in the major leagues of raw power. Position 11, Harley-Davidson Dyna Lowrider, 1977. The 70s were a turbulent time for the United States and also for Harley-Davidson. Japanese competition was pressing hard and the brand needed a bike that connected with a new generation of riders. Thus, the Dyna Lowrider was born in 1977. It was the first Harley to combine tall handlebars with a low seat, creating that relaxed yet authoritative posture we automatically associate with American customs today. Its 1,340 cubic centimeter shovelhead engine was not the most powerful, but it had that characteristic thump that made lovers of the genuine Milwaukee sound fall in love. The Dyna chassis introduced a motor mounting system with silent blocks that reduced the vibrations transmitted to the rider, a major advancement for the time. The cast wheels, uncommon then, gave it a more modern and aggressive look than traditional spoke wheels. The lowrider quickly became the favorite of clubs and riders who wanted a bike for everything, capable of traveling and moving with ease in the city. Its influence was felt for decades, and the spirit of that first lowrider lives on in current Dynas. Position 10, Harley-Davidson Road King, 1994. Sometimes the best is the enemy of the good, and when the good is the Electroglide, its most refined version could be nothing other than the Road King. It arrived in 1994, and its proposal was as simple as it was brilliant. Strip away everything superfluous from a touring bike and keep the essentials, but without sacrificing comfort. The Road King offered the chassis and stability of a Grand Tourer, but with a cleaner, more classic aesthetic. Its 1,340 cubic centimeter Evolution engine delivered just the right amount of power needed to devour kilometers without breaking a sweat. The rear shock absorbers, hidden under the bike, maintained the hardtail look while providing enviable comfort. The removable front fairing allowed for switching from a highway route to a Sunday stroll without the need for tools. The Road King became the choice of those who knew what they wanted, those who didn't need a 400-watt radio or a rear trunk the size of a closet. Just them, the road, and the roar of the V-twin. Law enforcement across half the country adopted it as a patrol bike for its perfect balance between maneuverability and endurance. The Road King didn't need to shout to impose itself. Position 9, Harley-Davidson XR 750. If there is one bike that has taken the name of Harley-Davidson to the top of the podiums, it is the XR 750. It was born in 1970 to compete in the AMA Dirt Track Championship, and what it achieved is unprecedented. When the competition rules changed to allow 750 cubic centimeter engines, Harley engineers didn't just modify an existing design, they created a racing machine from scratch. The engine, a V-twin with aluminum heads and cylinders, revolutionized dirt track. It lost weight, gained cooling, and allowed the rev limit to rise to 7,700 revolutions per minute without blowing up. The chassis geometry with a 27-degree rake angle provided agility in dirt corners that left the competition behind. When Evil Knievel needed a bike for his impossible jumps, he didn't hesitate. He chose the XR 750, and for good reason. It withstood flights of 45 meters without flinching. The track record of the XR 750 is staggering. 29 AMA National Championships, a record that even today, decades later, no one has been able to match. Position 8, Harley-Davidson Pan America 1250. And then 2021 arrived, and Harley-Davidson once again did something no one expected. It presented the Pan America 1250, an adventure bike. Yes, an off-road motorcycle with the Milwaukee star on the tank. Purists once again tore their hair out, but the reality is that the Pan America suddenly became one of the best adventure bikes on the market. Its Revolution Max engine of 1,252 cubic centimeters was a masterpiece of engineering. Liquid cooling, 4-valve heads, and a power delivery that had nothing to envy of European bikes, 150 horsepower, a figure few adventure bikes can match. But the truly innovative feature was the front suspension, a system that allowed the bike's height to be adjusted on the fly. Literally, you could lower the Pan America when you stopped and raise it when you returned to the road, all with the push of a button. The riding modes, touchscreens, and state-of-the-art electronics proved that Harley knew how to build not just classic bikes, but also machines of the future. The Pan America was not an experiment, it was a statement of intent, and the market responded. Stocks sold out, dealerships had waiting lists. Harley had shown it could compete and win in any segment. If these 7 machines have paved the way, wait until you meet those that marked a before and after in the company's history. We are talking about the ones that saved the brand, the ones that conquered the world, and the one that became an immortal pop icon. This is getting serious. Position 7, Harley-Davidson Duo Glide, 1958. The year was 1958, and the world was changing at full speed. Rock and roll played on the radios, youth sought new forms of freedom, and American roads were filling with travelers. Harley-Davidson needed to take a step forward, and it did so with the Duo Glide. The name said it all. For the first time in the brand's history, a motorcycle featured rear suspension as standard. What seems obvious to us today was a revolution in 1958. Engineers spent 3 years perfecting a hydraulic system with shock absorbers that completely transformed the traveling experience. Suddenly, bumpy roads stopped being an ordeal. The Pan head engine with its alloy heads received improvements in lubrication and timing, gaining reliability and smoothness. The rear brakes, also hydraulic, provided a stopping capacity that was previously unthinkable. The Duo Glide was not only more comfortable, it was safer. American travelers adopted it as the ultimate tool for crossing the country. Routes of thousands of kilometers began to be organized, and the Duo Glide proved it could handle anything. It changed the perception of the motorcycle as a weekend vehicle, turning it into a true traveling machine. Position 6, Harley-Davidson Electra Glide, 1965. If the Duo Glide brought comfort, the Electra Glide brought civilization. It arrived in 1965, and its great contribution was as simple as it was revolutionary: the electric starter. It seems like a trifle today, but at that time, starting a large displacement Harley was an exercise in strength and occasionally risk. The Kickstarter could kick back if you weren't careful. The Electra Glide ended that problem in one fell swoop. You pressed a button and the 1,200 cubic centimeter V-twin engine came to life effortlessly. This opened the doors of motorcycling to a new generation of riders, those who perhaps did not have the strength or experience to tame the Kickstarter pedal. The front fairing, the famous pig nose, became a design icon. The hard saddlebags, large seats, and relaxed posture made the Electra Glide the undisputed queen of the American highways. In its first year, it sold more than all the racing bikes combined. A legend had been born that, under different names and forms, remains alive today. Position 5, Harley-Davidson FX Softail, 1984. We reach 1984 and Harley-Davidson is against the ropes. The company is nearing bankruptcy, Japanese competition is pressing, and customers are starting to doubt. At that critical moment, the FXSS Softail appears, a bike that not only saved the brand but reinvented the concept of the cruiser. Engineer Bill Davis had been obsessed for years with an idea, achieving the look of a rigid frame like those of old, but with the comfort of rear suspension. After much work, he found the solution. 2 shock absorbers hidden under the transmission, arranged horizontally, which absorbed terrain irregularities without breaking the classic aesthetic. The Evolution engine, also new, marked a before and after in the brand's reliability. After decades of engines with oil leaks and cooling problems, the Evo arrived to bring order. Better lubrication, better cooling, more power, and above all, a confidence that customers had lost. Test benches subjected the Evolution to more than 500 hours at maximum RPM. It did not fail. The Softail became the brand's workhorse. It proved that you could have classic style and modern behavior. And most importantly, it restored faith to dealerships and customers. Position 4, Harley-Davidson WLA, World War II. If there is a bike that has demonstrated what Harley-Davidson is made of, it is the WLA. The W for wartime, the L for high compression, and the A for the 6-volt battery. During the Second World War, more than 90,000 units of this machine served the Allied forces, and it wasn't just any bike, it was a combat tool. Each 745 cubic centimeter engine was tested for 50 hours at full throttle before being sent to the front. It had to function in the African desert, in the Russian mud, and on the beaches of the Pacific. The air filter was an oil bath type, capable of stopping the finest sand. The electrical connections were triple sealed to be able to ford rivers up to 40 centimeters deep. The fenders were reinforced to support the weight of military equipment, and the cylinder heads had a lower compression ratio to be able to run on the low-quality fuel found in war zones. The WLA featured leg protectors, a shielded headlight to avoid being seen from the air, and a rifle scabbard on the right side. It was the bike that won the war, yes, but it was also the seat of post-war custom culture. Thousands of soldiers returned home in love with those machines and turned them into the first choppers, the first bobbers, the germ of everything that came after. Position 3, Harley-Davidson Fat Boy, 1990. And then 1990 arrived, and with it, the bike that would become the ultimate pop icon, the Fat Boy, designed by Willie G. Davidson and Louis Netz. Its appearance was so striking it looked like it was taken from a science fiction movie. In fact, it was. When James Cameron was looking for a bike for the T-800 in Terminator 2, it was clear to him. The Fat Boy was the perfect vehicle for a cyborg from the future. Its solid wheels, which looked like silver discs, not only gave it a unique look but also improved high-speed stability by reducing turbulence. The wide muscular tank looked hand-sculpted. The 1,340 cubic centimeter Evolution engine delivered 78 foot-pounds of torque, just the right power to move those 335 kilos with authority. The silver paint was not just any color, it required a 7-layer process to achieve that metallic finish reminiscent of the B-29 bombers of the Second World War. Harley limited production to 2,800 units the first year, creating a demand not seen in decades. When the movie premiered, sales doubled overnight. The Fat Boy was not just a bike, it was a movie star. Position 2, Harley-Davidson Knucklehead, 1936. To understand the importance of the Knucklehead, one must go back to 1936. Until then, Harley bikes were simple machines with side valve engines, reliable but limited. The Knucklehead, nicknamed for the shape of the valve covers that looked like knuckles, changed everything. It was the first Harley engine to feature overhead valves, a technological advancement that multiplied power and efficiency. Suddenly, American bikes could compete in performance with European ones. The 1,120 cubic centimeter engine with its characteristic sound and power delivery became the standard for what a great American bike should be. The chassis also knew improved stability and handling. The Knucklehead was not only a sales success, it was the origin of the legend. Without it, there would have been no Panhead, no Shovelhead, and no Evolution. All modern Harleys drink from the fountain that the Knucklehead inaugurated in those pre-war years. It is the grandmother of them all, and its place on the podium is more than deserved. Position 1, Harley-Davidson Evolution Sportster 1986-2021. And we have reached number 1, the bike that not only defined an era but saved the company and became the heart of millions of riders for 35 years, the Evolution Sportster. When Harley-Davidson introduced the Evolution engine in 1986, the company was at a critical moment. They needed a reliable, modern engine capable of competing with Japanese mechanics, and they achieved it. The Evolution, with its alloy heads, improved lubrication, and redesigned air cooling, ended the reputation for oil leaks and overheating in one fell swoop. Suddenly, a Harley could be used daily without fear of leaving a puddle in the garage. The Sportster with that engine became the gateway to the Harley universe. It was smaller, more manageable, and more affordable, yet it kept all the character, the roar, the style, the personality. For more than 3 decades, the Evo Sportster was the first Harley for thousands of people. It was the bike for weekends, for rides with friends, and for first customizations. It was manufactured in countless versions, from the basic to the custom, including the 72 or the previously mentioned Iron 883. Its legacy is incalculable. When Harley announced the end of the Evolution-powered Sportster in 2021, the motorcycling world held its breath. A 35-year chapter of history was closing. The Evo Sportster is not just a bike, it is living proof that Harley-Davidson knew how to reinvent itself, survive, and connect with the soul of riders. That is why it is number 1. 15 bikes that did not just build a brand, they built a myth. From the small street 750 that tried to conquer urban youth to the fireproof Evo Sportster that proved reliability could also be cool. The knucklehead taught us to dream. The WLA reminded us that bikes also fight in wars, and the fat boy sat on the throne of cinema. But number 1, the Evolution Sportster, took the top spot because it was, quite simply, the engine that saved Harley-Davidson and the heart of a generation. Tell us in the comments, what is your favorite Harley in history? The brutality of the V-Rod, the elegance of the Road King, the history of the WLA, or the eternal Sportster? And if the roar of the V-Twin runs through your veins, subscribe, because the road never ends.